Welcome to the Clean Library Podcast, where content meets conscience. We believe there are millions of you readers out there desperately searching for a better way to find clean content. Each episode, we will introduce you to a new author of clean books, giving you, your family, and your friends clean options.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus Williams.
And I'm Brock Morris.
And we are the creators of the Clean Library. And look, we're dads. We've got families. We're avid readers ourselves. And we just got to talking one day about how difficult it is to find clean content for ourselves and for our kids. And Brock, you called me and started talking about some ideas. And we just got into this conversation about why is it so hard?
And not only where do you find it, but who are the authors out there who are creating it? How do you even go about finding a trustworthy author that you can rely on the content and then recommend that to both your kids and your family, friends? I mean, we've all been in a situation too where we've, maybe recommended a book and a friend has read it and you realize that there's maybe some content in there that I didn't remember. And so wanted to get back to how do we find good quality, clean content for families and friends.
Yeah. And that's kind of an embarrassing situation where they come back to you and are you sure this was your recommendation?
They look kind of funny at you in the future, kind of out of the side of your eye, like, really?
Right. But it's because we start to almost excuse content because we can't find anything else. So we try to block that out of our heads. Or we try to forget that, it was great except for that one chapter. It was great except for that one part. But that stuff's in your brain. Once it's in your brain forever.
Exactly. We may think that as adults, we have a higher level skills of being able to compartmentalize that content. I think it's still there and it does come back to us, but especially as I think there's been plenty of studies on the impact that content has on young minds, right? On children and what they consume. Certainly, you can look at violent content and things like that, but especially as you get to things that are more pornographic in nature or sexualized, the impact that it has on how they see intimacy, how they view relationships and love, that does have an impact. And there's a lot of studies to support that. And so as we consider, how do we help our kids grow and how do we ourselves try to maintain healthy relationships through the content and not have that stuff sort of impact our day-to-day lives?
Yeah, exactly. And the focus of this podcast is not to go out and bash authors or books that may have content that, we wouldn't say is clean. We're not here to say this is bad or don't read this. We're here to say, look, you have a choice in what you consume, and we want to help you find that. We want to help connect you with the authors and the authors with their readers so that you can feel confident finding that stuff. I mean, a recent example that I think was perfect, we were already starting this conversation, and then this happened to me. So I'm not even going to mention the book because, again, we're not here to bash other people's work, but it was a bestseller. A lot of people have talked about it. People that I thought wouldn't lead me astray talked very highly of it. I knew one of my daughters wanted to read it, and she's an adult now, but she still appreciates if she doesn't want to read this stuff. So as her dad, I sometimes will read it first. And so I read this book thinking it would be fine. And it was one of the most explicit books I've ever read. I had to skip a bunch of sections. And the problem was that explicit section wasn't until almost 2/3 of the way through the book. So you were already hooked. You were hooked with the plot and the story and the characters. And so what do? Just stop? Then that takes a lot of willpower.
Yeah, Marcus, that's a great point too. And I think what we've both talked about as we discuss this is how difficult it is to determine what is in that book. You have to go scour the comments sections or, online. If you want to read it, you have to do a lot of research to see what might be in that book or not. And really what you're relying on has a previous reader identified that as something that you want to be aware of. Like you said, a lot of friends had been reading that book. you could have even tried to research and may not have ever come across information that would have let you know, hey, this book contains this, because there's no real ratings system out there for books.
Right. And in fact, I actually, just as a test afterwards, I went on Amazon to say, wait a minute, what is going on here? And I looked at the reviews, and there all these fantastic reviews. I loved it. It was amazing. Loved it. 5-star, 5-star. So I filtered out all the good reviews and just went to the bad, and then those were just, I didn't like this plot line, or I didn't like this character development, or I didn't like this or that. So even in the bad reviews, I had to dig until I found someone who actually said, guys, content warning. So even looking at the reviews, I had to dig really deep to find them when I knew what I was looking for. So if I didn't know that I was looking for that specific review, I would have just believed the thousands of 5-star reviews and that it was fine. And I also looked at the original genre, and the genre did not tell me that it was going to have that content in it. So yeah.
It's hard to determine. And even not just genre, but I think what we're seeing in today's society too is you used to be able to trust sort of YA as a category of literature. And you used to be able to say, okay, if it's YA, that sort of identifies this as something that's going to have relatively clean content. And I can trust, if I recommend a YA book to my kids, if I let them read it, or to friends, that it's going to fall into that. I think what we're seeing is that line's being blurred considerably in what content is sort of leaking into and finding its way into even young adult sort of categorized books. And that becomes a real challenge too, on top of trying to research any others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as we've discussed, one of the things we've discussed is we believe that free speech is an inalienable right. It's an absolute. However, you can't have free speech without freedom of choice. If you can't choose which speech, which content you want to listen to, then it really isn't. So again, we're not saying that all this stuff should go away. People have a choice, but we just thought that there should be an easier way to connect people with the content they actually want to read.
That's right. Adding choice to the options out there, right? Adding the potential of finding clean content when you want to find it, and when you want to learn more about the authors who write content like that. That's what we want to provide.
Yeah, and that's what I love about, and I'm so excited about this podcast. This isn't a book review podcast. We're not going to be just talking about a book and recommending books. We're actually talking to the authors, the writers, talking to them about their journey, why they made the decision to write clean content, get to know them as a person and their process and the things that they've gone through in the marketplace, but also in their writing journey. Because there's a lot of authors out there that I'll read anything. As soon as I hear there's a new book by them, I'll read it because I like the author. And so that's what we want to do, is connect authors with readers so that you have a lifetime choice of books as they continue to write, rather than just one book here and there. So part of that getting to know authors is we're going to have a lot of indie authors, unknown authors you may not have heard of, and frankly wouldn't pop up at the top of your search results. We're going to be talking to them and introducing you to new authors. And these are people who would love to hear from you, would love to talk to you. These are authors who, if you read their books or you listen to the episode and you reach out to them, they'll probably get back to you personally, because they're not the big published superstars, but they're the people writing stuff, really good stuff that you're interested in reading. And they want to connect with you just as much as you want to connect with them. So I think it'll be really cool to see those connections made between you guys, our listeners, and the authors that we interview.
Absolutely. We want to use this as much as a referral source for you as it is learning information about the authors, right? When you want to learn more about maybe some unknown hidden gems out there, this is who we want to bring to light and introduce you to, and the world to their content, their writing, their stories.
Absolutely. So if you are an author, then we'll put the link in the show description. and you can sign up for an interview with us to be on one of our episodes, or if you know an author. But otherwise, we'll be putting out a regular episode. So hit the subscribe button so that you are notified whenever a new episode drops, and come find content that you're comfortable reading, that you're confident will be clean and you don't have to worry about it, and come in and just get to know new authors and new books. We would love to have you, and we're excited to get going.
And hit us up if you have recommendations too. Please reach out and contact us. We'd love to know who you're reading that follows these lines and who we could bring on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll reach out to them and invite them to be on the show with us. So we are excited to catch you at the next episode. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on the Clean Library Podcast.